Do not adjust your settings. Take your hands off the keys. Your search is over. These are the geeks you're looking for. You found Geek Watch One with Kylan and Ken.
Hey Geeksters, I'm Kylan.
And I'm Ken.
And you found Geek Watch One.
Welcome Geeksters, we are back to the Malted Meeple again for the July Meeplecast. And this time, we've decided we're going to fall down the Hanna-Barbera rabbit hole. Now, if you've not heard about Hanna-Barbera, I don't know where you've ever been. This is only one of the largest animation companies in the history of television and movie animation.
Yeah, it's right up there with Disney. You know,
yeah.
So.
Well, the thing is, Disney. You think when people think animation for the history of, they think Disney, Warner Brothers with Looney Tunes, but they made limited shows. They were made shorts, and that's about it. Hanna-Barbera was making full-length TV series. And actually, I got an interesting one when we first started that I didn't realize about these guys. But before, we're not going to get into that yet because there's a lot of other stuff we need to get into. But this is actually issue number 63. See? I almost said 64. But see, that's because that's just a standard thing. I always mess up the numbers.
But will they still need us? Will they still feed us when we're 64?
Hopefully.
Okay, never mind.
You and your
Forget
songs.
it. Thank you. Forget it.
I don't know.
You don't know Beatles either?
I know Beatles. I didn't recognize the song. That's all. The lyrics on that.
Kylan, you're falling down on your friend job.
I'm finding out things I don't know.
Well, Geeksters, we're actually sitting here. He's got to take off pretty quick, but Carrington actually is joining us for this week's show. So, Carrington, how you doing? It's been a couple months since you've been on here.
Yeah, things at the Malted Meeple have been busy. We Mondays have definitely picked up. It's been a fantastic. We've got a full house out there right now. We actually just added another night to Dungeons and Dragons, so Mondays is going to be the night for Dungeons and Dragons as well, and that starts at 7 o'clock to 11. They're all all-inclusive kind of campaigns, so you can jump in, jump out. They all also have like an overarching story arc as well. And of course, we've got our Wednesday nights that are doing phenomenally as well. And another RPG update, we've got Shadowrun on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday we have Shadowrun, so all you chummers out there, come out to the Malted Meeple for some Shadowrun.
Okay.
Pathfinder is on Thursdays as well. And we've actually got two big events coming up very shortly, actually this weekend. We have Professor Meeple's Game Lab, which is something that we had at Origins, if you recall.
Yeah.
We had the tables there where people played testing games. Brian Canelos, who did Red Scare, actually I believe he sold his game at Origins this past year. He is going to be coming back and running Night Falls, which is a mega game, which will play anywhere from 6 to 32 players.
Ooh, so 32 players?
Yep, we're hoping for a big crowd this Sunday.
Wow.
It'll be from 1 to 7 p.m. Everyone should show up. Ben really runs a great game, and Night Falls is going to be a fantastic game. So come out 1 o'clock on Sunday, July 31st, and play Night Falls. And then the next day, so that Monday, I guess it's not really the weekend, we will have a Kickstarter launch party. Cold Steel Wardens, which had a role-playing game on Kickstarter, is going to have their launch party here at the Malted Meeple from 4 to 11. You can come out, you can play their game, which is a superhero-themed game, kind of a dark and gritty, which is my favorite kind of superhero role-playing game. They're going to be launching their Kickstarter here at the Malted Meeple, so definitely come and check that out as well.
Awesome.
So there we are. All kinds of cool stuff happening at the Malted Meeple.
Cool.
We also got a bunch of new milkshakes, which you guys will have to try.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Oh yeah, thank you, sir. So
Thank you.
Actually, real quick, is there anything new coming in with the castle?
There is. So Ravenwood Castle has a murder mystery coming up called The Grilling Dead, and there's one spot left. It's going to be another zombie themed, and they're going to have a barbecue attached to that, and that's going to be on Labor Day. So there's one more seat for that, or I guess one more room for that. And we also got, I'm going to say it wrong, but and Alan Girding is going to kill me, but it's it's the Mad Professor's Hallow-Wicked Weekend. So we're going to be announcing that shortly, and that's during Halloween, of course. Alan Girding of Tuesday Night Games, who made Two Rooms and a Boom and World Championship Russian Roulette. They're going to be at the castle running all kinds of different games. Should be a great time. So cool. Those are the events coming up at the castle.
Sweet. So And I played. Man, that's what you're supposed to pick up when I blank on stuff.
I got lost.
Oh, okay. Well, sounds like a good time. We wish that we could be there, but
Oh, yeah.
we have to adult and earn money.
I know.
Whatever that means.
I don't know. I'm seriously
I know.
considering coming down on Sunday though.
Being an adult is overrated.
It is. It really is. Unless you got paid to play games. If you guys are hiring for
players?
for players,
For players or
Yeah.
for game masters?
Well,
We just added a new member to the team, so I'm not going to call her out on air, but we did just add one more member to our team. But I guess if you wanted to throw a resume, you could.
Don't tempt me.
Or if we are looking for game masters right now, so if you know someone who has wanted to run a campaign, we can get you the players. We got plenty of players. We just need more game masters to volunteer. Our game master program is fantastic. We have different things that you get at different tiers. You can get T-shirts. You can actually get a membership here if you GM 100 hours. Every session that you run, we waive your table fee. We give you a free milkshake every session. It's a fantastic deal. We take care of all of our game masters. So if you know someone who wants to run Numenera, Shadowrun, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, anything, please.
Star Wars?
Star Wars, yeah. I could use another GM for Star Wars, anything. Just get a hold of me, info@maltedmeeple.com.
Maybe some low life?
Low life, anything, yeah.
Yeah.
You just tell us.
Low life.
I've got, coming up in September, I've got open slots, so please, seriously, put the shout out there. GMs, we want you here running your games.
Well, we know we got
Awesome.
GMs that listen to the show, so Geeksters, you guys are out here listening to this. The Meeple is sending out saying they need your help.
Absolutely. we got players for you. It looks like Ken might need some help too.
As Randy turns around and plugging the computer back in.
All right, well, speaking of jamming, I've got a table waiting for me. Take care,
See you later.
Geeksters.
Game on, sir.
All right, thanks.
So, Geeksters, Comic-Con was this past weekend.
Yes, it was.
Unless you're a Geekster who was hiding in a cave somewhere with the bats, then you heard about it.
I think even the bats know.
Probably.
So happy Geek New Year, everyone.
That's right. But we're gonna do now. Most people would expect us to cover Gen Con. I keep mixing that up. That's next week. That's why. But no, most people would expect us to cover Comic-Con the week after. Well, we are just not on here directly.
No.
You guys, Geeksters, we are gonna have it on our Geek Watch One feed. But we are actually going to join up with Weeby Geeks to do Weeby Geeks Watch 1, this like we did last year. It'll be their Comic-Con coverage part 2.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
So look for that coming up. Not next, I believe the week after next it'll be on our feed.
Yes.
Yes.
Because all of us we needed a show, and it's going to be an awesome show to have in there.
Yeah.
So that most of the Comic-Con coverage will be there. Some of it is probably going to bleed into here some today because there was some stuff that you can't get by. But another big thing that happened this week. Well, before we get into news and stuff, was there any what?
Can you maybe make a list beforehand?
I know. Hey, I used to have an outline.
Hey, you
Yeah,
wouldn't
and
Ken if
it
he
works
wasn't
so
jumped
well.
around.
I know. But do we have any news or anything we want to talk about for us? Other than
Babe,
oh,
we're gonna start micromanaging you. You're allowed to say this for 2 seconds and this for 3 seconds. And then you're allowed to go to
There are no
this.
squirrels.
Yeah.
yes.
You
But
can squirt later. It's
well, we
okay.
do have an announcement that anybody going to Gen Con. See, this time I am talking about Gen Con.
Okay.
Anybody going to Gen Con, look up. Vicky and I will be there representing Geek Watch One. We'll be the people holding the microphone that says Geek Watch One right on it.
Yeah.
So come up and say hello. I still have limited number of buttons and stickers to for anybody who finds us.
That's right.
So that's coming up in actually 2 weeks.
Or if you
from
can
now.
randomly find Kylan and I on our road trip, we'll give you stickers and buttons
Yes.
too.
Dawn won't do it, but Kylie may do some check-ins.
If
while
you
we're
want
out.
to meet us, if you want to meet us in Red Bank, New Jersey, at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, we will give you stickers.
Oh, and what was the pinball arcade that we're going to?
Was it Geppy's Entertainment? Oh, you mean the arcade that's near Jay and Silent Bob's?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a big pinball arcade.
You have the soundtrack for Tommy, so you can be running it in your earphones while you're walking through there, right?
We can do that playing down
Look,
at
I watched her
Stonehenge.
play. I watched her play, and I'm pretty sure Tommy is running in her head. As I'm like,
She's got Pinball Wizard running in her brain while she's going.
She zones out. It's like, honestly, I think she sees the Matrix. Like while she's playing, it's just code. I've never seen because I'm like move the like 12 seconds, I'm done. And she's just like,
Pinball's my thing.
multi-ball, and then she's just like, oh, I don't know. It's like she turns into Neo or something. It's awesome. Well, it's true.
Performing calculus on the fly in her head.
Serious, yes, exactly.
I'm all
It's
about the
abstract
maths.
calculus.
And geometry.
Or
All angles.
the Spy Museum.
Yeah, that's
But
true. You can find us
don't
in
follow me at the Spy Museum because I
You don't
would
wanna
have read
follow
a
the
couple of
Spy
spy
Museum.
novels at that point, and I would think somebody's following me, and then there'll be an incident, and I won't be back.
Or you can meet us at Atomic Books, and we might run into John Waters.
Oh, that's right. So yeah.
We're going everywhere on this road trip.
Yeah,
So
okay?
what's weird is it wasn't planned this way. Well, you guys planned it this way on purpose.
Yeah.
You guys and us. But the thing is, Geek Watch One's going to be all out of town, just about. Bart's going to be the only one in town.
Mm-hmm.
Because from
We
DC
should make Bart do
Superpowers,
the show on
I know. He'll be sitting there with just a mic and him and hi.
Hey,
Bart and
actually
Andy and
would-
Jesse do it.
Yeah, Bart actually would do really well. So
Bart and Andy and Jesse could do the film
oh
show.
my! Oh, that'd be awesome. You know, there'll be all kinds of stuff that'll be said, and you'll have to edit everything out because Bart will start cursing.
It would be a 10-minute episode.
When Bart curses, like everybody drops, like, huh?
Yeah.
You don't realize he's done
You
it.
did-
What did he just say?
He cusses on our ours a lot.
Yeah, Tales from the Darkness. You catch him and Vicky. Or Vicky, you expect it from.
I
But you
didn't
catch it
really
from
say
Bart.
anything.
Bart curses like Eazy-E, I think. So, in my head, he's like our version of Eazy-E. Or Bob Saget. I don't
Okay.
know.
Or Bob
Well, this same weekend,
that
you
come from?
guys are on your geek road trip.
Yes.
We're going to be at Gen Con.
That's right.
Vernon's going to be in Atlanta.
Yep.
So
Everyone's
DC
going
Superpowers is
everywhere.
going to be on a. We're going to have a pre-recorded show, which actually that's happening this weekend also.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be DC Superpowers is joining up with Mighty Marvel Geeks.
Yes,
we
you
figured
are.
out how to get Cyborg has been tinkering with the mother box
Mm-hmm.
to make a boom tube that'll go into the your lair.
Dude, you don't want to do that.
That's
Or,
the only
you
way
know,
to get
it's
there.
just called Skype.
No.
No, you don't want to do that. We have shield tech for that kind of stuff. You don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
but it's Apocalypse Tech.
Yeah, but see,
We'll find out Friday if it works.
We deal with like intergalactic threats, man. You don't want to
Well,
do
Friday night we'll figure it out if it
Okay.
works or not.
that. I'm just saying.
So everybody's on everybody's show in the
Yeah.
next couple weeks.
This next couple weeks is going to be kind of crazy. That's one of the reasons Carrington wasn't able to stay this whole show because he's got so much stuff planning because he's going to Gen Con also.
That's right.
So, but that's I think most of our news for ourselves. Remember, the sponsor of our show is Motherwith Creations. Check out oddball.info and comicob.com for all the info for everything coming up from that.
Right.
And then the other thing that we said, Comic-Con was this past weekend, but this past weekend also, we got a new Star Trek movie.
Yes,
Yep.
we did. Yes,
So, we'll start, who wants to start off in just initial impression, nothing deep or anything, just initial impression of the Star Trek movie that if you saw. We're going to try to keep most of the spoilers out of this, because not everybody here has got a chance to see it. But what did you think, Piggy?
Poor Trickle.
What? Talk louder.
No.
That has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, that wasn't in the movie itself. That was after. So, no, what did you think of the actual movie?
It was good.
It was good. Personally, I thought it was the most Star Trek of the new franchise.
Really?
It felt like Star Trek.
I liked that it was an original story.
Yeah.
It was truly, it didn't feel like it was copying. It wasn't Wrath of Khan Part 2.
I've been waiting for that. If you're going to reboot, make
Yeah.
it original.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I loved all the nods because this was at year 3, which the series only lasted 3 years. So I thought that was cool.
There was an Easter egg in there about that too.
Yeah.
Because they talk about their mission just got extended.
Right. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Tons of feels. You know, I don't know, something flew in my eye a couple times now. I don't know what that was all about, but
Yeah.
it was good. It was
Cool.
good.
Dawn, what did you think of it?
Well, okay. As you know, I'm not a fan of Trek.
Yes.
I'm a little bit more of a fan of Star Wars than Star Trek, but I'm not a big fan of either. It was actually an okay movie. It was pretty good. And it had an original villain, and really I only went because it was Idris Elba. So that'll get me to go to any movie, Idris Elba. And plus Simon Pegg. That's really what got me into the first movie was Simon Pegg. The second was Simon Pegg with Benedict Cumberbatch. The third, Simon Pegg and Idris Elba. So, you know, I have reasons to go to the movie.
I do love Simon Pegg.
And the thing I didn't like was that there's actually a commercial out there. One of the trailers gives away the spoiler of the movie.
Oh.
Which
Without giving away the spoiler, which one are you talking about?
It's one of the most recent trailers with when a certain someone says someone's a certain something after watching something.
Okay.
If you've seen that movie, you get it.
Yeah.
So,
so it wasn't exactly a surprise when it happened in the movie.
the only, go ahead.
But yeah, overall, it had a good story. I mean, it was kind of a predictable story, but it was a good story.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that happens at the beginning with the attack, that was more original too. Because I mean, that was pretty severe. Sometimes you see ships crash and stuff, but you don't see that.
Yeah. Well, this was. I love the little things that they put in there that are part of Trek from the original Trek universe. Stuff like, well, everybody sees. We'll start with the trailer. When we first saw the trailers, it looked like this was wall-to-wall action the whole movie.
Right.
This isn't.
No.
Everything you saw in those trailers with the ship explosion and all that stuff, that's in the first, half hour of the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. Everything else that happens after that has nothing to do, well, has to do with that because that is what starts everything. But it's not, the whole movie's not just wall-to-wall action. The other movies have been more like that.
Yeah.
And the first one was wall-to-wall action. That's all it was.
Yeah.
That's why it didn't feel Star Trek.
No.
This one had huge action sequences with plenty of story and plot in between, which is where Star Trek has always,
You
for
found
me,
out
been
more
phenomenal.
about the characters themselves.
It's a little more
Yeah.
cerebral and
Yeah, it
There
was.
was more
I like
depth
that.
to it.
Yeah.
Talking to the characters though, this was being the third movie now, they finally got this, and the characters felt the most like the original Kirk, Spock, McCoy. They actually were being their characters. They weren't trying to figure this out still.
Yeah, but there was still enough of a difference in them that you knew that this was an alternate universe. You know, but I really, like I was telling a coworker today that it seems like that, who's the guys that play, the two guys that play Spock and McCoy?
Carl Urban and
Zachary Quinto.
Yeah,
Zachary Quinto.
They actually have a better on-screen chemistry than DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy, in my opinion, because it was just like that love-hate relationship actually translated on screen. You know, especially like when they're in the when they're on the ship. I guess like the escape tube the first time, and you get that little infighting between two of them. Or when he finds out that he's been volunteered for a mission. You know?
Well, Bones is never like that in any series you talk to him about. Saying, you know what you're doing? I'm doing what?
Yeah.
So, but
Jim, I'm a doctor.
yeah,
Not a.
Hey, I think he said. I think he was a fighter. I think that's what he was going. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
they didn't tease that line and they stopped it. He transports out right as the so he doesn't
I was
finish
about to
it.
say something.
So, the one thing that was cool everybody knows from the trailers the ship gets destroyed.
Yeah.
But they did put in. What were you saying, Ben? Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get to that next. But the cool thing I thought was this is for really nerdy Star Trek fans. That everybody knows the Next Generation saucer would separate from the Enterprise. Okay, and you could reattach it. Well, and if you look at the tech manuals and the behind-the-scenes stuff for the original Enterprise, the theory was you could do that on the original, and it was a one-time use as an escape pod.
Exactly.
You could evacuate everybody into the saucer section and eject or basically separate it out, and you would need like a starbase to reattach it.
That's right.
They do that in this.
Yes.
This ship can separate.
Yeah.
And it is, you have to manually go through, unlock all the sides, and to eject it.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was in the tech manuals. It
really
was
deep
legit.
Star Trek fans, that's awesome. To see that they were able to do it. And Neil's sitting over here, he's not seen the movie. He's geeking out, never seen the movie because of hearing about this.
That was something I'd always wished they had addressed, was the original Enterprise being able to have that saucer separation. And the bowling alley even went with the saucer. They knew what was important.
Right.
If you look in the tech manual,
That's right. The tech.
there is an
That's right. It is.
armor decks.
Well, yeah, and so, you know, and I believe it was strictly like it says, a one-time use situation.
Yeah. Well,
and the Enterprise had never been that
exactly
decimated.
Like I said, it was an escape pod situation where they could use it on obviously there's no warp drive on the saucer section, so you could impulse away, and then you could put them back together if you fixed the situation, but you had to go to like a starbase with the actual full construction gear to put it back together. The other one that I pulled as a positive from this, they gave a great send off to Leonard Nimoy in this.
Yes, they did.
They paid phenomenal tribute to Nimoy in this. They do address the whole thing with Nimoy dying.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm gonna say on this, but it was a great. That was part of your feels, I know.
Yeah.
That's the way it was.
Actually, it made me think about something else too. That because I was so caught up in the first movie from the destruction of Vulcan, I didn't take into account that just because Vulcan was destroyed, that meant that all Vulcans were dead. You know, that there were still Vulcans.
Oh, there's a lot out there.
Ambassador.
Yeah. So.
Well, no, if
Travelers.
I remember right, in the second one, they actually mentioned New Vulcan.
Right.
They actually found another planet to colonize.
That's right. So. Like, okay.
Well, yeah, because he actually mentions that in the movie about.
Yeah, going.
Yeah, you need to go back to propagate to create more Vulcans.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the problem with other stuff going on. So.
Well, yeah.
Had to go make a little spotlight.
The only criticism I think I had on this movie was a Justin Lin thing. It was the camera spinning the entire movie.
Yes. But there was very little lens flare.
Well,
which was pretty awesome.
That's because J.J. Abrams wasn't directing; he was just producing it.
Exactly. But you know he would have tried to get it in there.
No, we just wrote a check and said take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had gone to see the second Into Darkness,
Right.
and we went and saw it in IMAX in 3D.
Oh.
I was so angry when I walked out of that movie. All the beauty, all the beautiful cinematography was hidden behind the freaking lens flare, and it was right in your face because it was in 3D on the freaking IMAX.
Well, this one here, the 3D, actually, I don't get motion sick. But I felt myself starting to get a little dizzy sometimes because of the way the camera would spin around, and you're in 3D. But the positive with the spinning is because the reason they had to do a lot of it was this base that they go to, the Yorktown is what they call it. It is a sphere that was created. It's a star base, and everything starts from the center and spirals out from it.
And I've never seen a star base like that.
Everything, the buildings, instead of like being on a plane here and all the buildings across the top, no, the buildings across the top, across the side, across the bottom, and all the gravity is relative to where you're at.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've never seen. You've never seen a star base like this. Like this star base was designed for Starfleet and for their families, and it is pretty
It
much
was
like
inspired by like Inception. Didn't they have the top and bottom thing in
Yeah.
Inception?
Yeah, it had a bunch of arms basically coming off,
Yeah.
and they had, like I said, they had buildings on top and on bottom, and depending on where you're at, the gravity changed.
It's built like a planet. So I mean,
And that's part of the actual plot of the movie is the gravity being so strange in this thing. So,
Okay, and did you notice the inspiration from Star Wars
which one?
that Simon Pegg threw in there with the entirety of the character of Jayla? She was basically like Rey. She had a staff when everyone else had guns.
yeah,
She was the one on her own, left on a planet,
Yeah.
learning different
See, I
languages.
never put that together on that.
Yeah.
yeah.
She was a really good character though. Like she was.
Yeah.
She was a much more solid character than Rey ever was.
Right. But or now the other thing is I was surprised that like Greg Grunberg.
You can't even remember his name now.
Yes,
Yeah.
Grunberg.
You owned it. You got Star Trek. You got Star Wars, Heroes. What else he have? I don't know.
Pokemon.
Wait till next year and see what he gets.
And then,
He'll be in a Marvel movie next.
You know what? Yeah,
And then he's going to switch over and get into the DC movie too.
I'm like he gets the Mark A. Shepard Award. I'm like, you know, you're like the cinematic version of Mark A. Shepard. Like all my geek stuff.
He's starting anyway.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
starting.
Mark Shepard's got about a dozen things he's in, so Grunberg's got to catch up.
Yeah, I know he may show up on Doctor Who.
I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know
do
if
it.
Shepard's ever had an action figure. Grunberg's at least got an action figure out of Star Wars.
Technically, yeah, because he's had Crowley.
Well, he's got a pop.
He's got a
pop
pop
figure, so
That's
pop
close
figures
enough.
count. Okay.
So I'll count that. So yeah.
I was just wondering who you were
I know,
talking about
right?
because I suck at names. I'm like, I wonder.
Parkman from
I mean,
Heroes.
eventually they're going to mention someone I know.
Parkman
He's
from
played.
Heroes. You remember Heroes at all?
Yeah.
He was Parkman in Heroes. He was Snap Wesley. Snap Wesley in
Yeah.
Star Trek in Star Wars. And this, he was an
He's
admiral
a chubby
or
guy
captain
with
or
dark
something.
hair.
Yeah.
You don't recognize him.
I was like, that describes
He's
a
soon to
lot.
be the guy he's soon to be the guy you're going to find in every one
Yeah.
of the geek movies somewhere.
Sweet.
Oh, and he was an Alias too. So
Well, there you go.
and you know what? I don't think Joss Whedon killed him.
Not yet.
Don't even.
Wait, was he been in? No, Alias. He was.
Well, hey, Joss Whedon wants to
He
go
dies.
back with
He
him
dies
movie.
in Lost.
He does.
But that's not Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon killed him in the pilot. He is literally the
You
pilot.
know, no one is safe. No one is safe.
He's actually friends with Joss Whedon, or J.J. Abrams rather. That's why he
Yeah.
shows up in a lot of J.J. Abrams stuff. He's
Okay.
also in one of the Mission Impossible movies.
Ah.
See,
Mission
it's
Impossible.
getting longer and longer.
See, okay, so dude gets all bluff me because I'm probably the one of 3 people on this planet that likes the Mission Impossible series, and there you go, dude.
Yeah.
Which this must be. I have yet to see. Was it Rogue Nation? Because I've seen all of them. So I have yet to see Rogue Nation.
See, I've seen 1, 2, and 3. I've not seen the other ones yet.
How can I even? How are we friends?
So now, we talked about. We always do this whenever we review a movie. We gotta bring out the brownie meter.
All right.
So how many people have actually seen the movie this year? Just the 4 of us and Randy. Jesse, you didn't see it yet?
I did not see it.
No one else. Wow. No one saw it.
I finally watched Ghostbusters.
We didn't give
It
away
took me this long.
spoilers.
We didn't get waiting things, so we're good.
I know. But
We did
so
free.
which is weird.
I know.
So Vicky, or let's start. Randy, you're behind the camera.
All right.
So what on a scale of 1 to 5 brownies, what would you give Star Trek?
Am I in focus?
Yes.
Hi, I'm the camera guy. 1 to 5?
Yeah, between 1 and 5 brownies.
I'm gonna go 3.5 brownies. I liked the film. I thought it was a bit on the slight side with the story. I wanted a little bit more. I thought it kind of was like. I didn't really like the action. I thought it was. You had said that it was. The camera was always moving, but I thought his shots were a little too tight. And when the camera's going like this, I can't tell what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Pull the camera out, Justin Lin. It's more engaging.
So
3.5 brownies.
He's used to being inside of a car. I mean, that was
Yeah, he's used to being
Yeah.
inside of a car.
This is the first time he had to shoot a movie that wasn't in a car.
That's true.
So Vicky, what would you give it on the brownie meter?
depends.
Depends on what.
I'll give it a 2.
A 2?
A 2. You
Wow.
hated it. Wow.
Okay. Ow!
You have the other 3 brownies.
No, I don't need more brownies.
No, I actually liked it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that when it comes to comparing other characters, it's just that's going to be normal.
Yeah. There's always inspirations for.
Well, it's not even that. It's just people are going to compare everything and say it's this just because it happens to be this, even though that's really not what it was.
Okay, so what's your actual brownie on it? You said you had fun.
It's fine. I'll stick at 2.
A 2? Okay. Mine, I'd have to go with probably 3.5 again. I would have been a strong 4, except for like you said, with the camera bouncing around and spinning and all this. That took away from it a little bit for me. So, especially in 3D. When everything's in 3D and bouncing around, it's hard.
Everyone's gonna get sick on YouTube this week.
If people watch it. So you gotta watch it to see if you get sick.
Grab your motion signals. Well,
So what
we'll
was
after that.
Kylan? What'd you give it out of 4 or 5 brownies?
4.5.
4.5 brownies.
Yeah, 4.5 because it was the most Star Trek of the new series, and you know we got some I guess a little bit more character development. I feel like, and we got to see what the effects of a 3-year mission in deep space does to someone that these aren't just people on a screen, that they're actual. They seem to be individuals, So I like that aspect of it. So I'm giving it 4.5. So
That's a pretty high mark.
I know.
Mm-hmm. So Dawn, what'd you give it?
I'm going with a 3.
A 3?
Yep.
Okay.
It was a good movie, but I'm not a big fan, so it didn't do a lot for me.
No, I'm doing that. I'm doing that real quick. Actually, that averaged out to a 3. It's an average for an average movie. So
I
that's
mean,
not
if
bad.
you're a fan, you're gonna love the movie. There's no
Yeah.
question about that.
Right.
This was a Star Trek movie that Star Trek fans would like finally.
Yes. I mean, I like the second one, but it wasn't a Star Trek movie.
No.
Yeah.
And the first one didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I really
Yeah,
liked the
you're-
first one just because it helped explain why they were going in the direction they were
Right.
going. And then the second one, they tried to remake an old one, which I didn't understand.
No, I'm like
if
the-
they rebooted the whole universe, why?
Fan
Why is
service.
Kong? Yeah.
They were trying to get somebody like me, who is
Right.
a purist in the Star Trek universe, has hated Enterprise with a passion, until I actually watched the last couple episodes and went, okay, I can go with that.
See, yeah,
You
see.
know, until that, it was, forget it.
Right.
I liked the vision that Gene laid out in the 60s, and you didn't see that in the first two movies.
No.
So,
Right. It seems like you're starting. You definitely see it in the third one. I think you do. So
I'll let you know next week.
cool. Oh, and I guess real quick, we got a teaser trailer because there's a new Star Trek series that's coming up.
Yes.
Which CBS is going to be nice and let everybody see the pilot episode, but
Then
then
they
that's
get the
good.
rest.
yeah, so then everything goes to their streaming service, and I think also to
Doesn't it go to Netflix too?
goes to Netflix as well. So
Is it going? Oh, so it'll be in Netflix when it's done with everything?
In UK.
is that in UK? Ah,
Really?
yeah.
Well, that's because more than likely CBS All Access isn't in the UK.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
like a bunch. They say 188 countries, including Canada, and I wasn't sure if U.S. was in that or not. So thanks. Say yeah.
That's
So-
because they want us to pay.
So this fall they're coming out with a new.
Actually, it's coming Christmas break, I think, somewhere right around Christmas.
January.
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 Oh, do we have a date?
I don't think
Yes.
we have an actual date. I think
Yes.
it's
It was in the actual trailer.
No, it just said fall,
It says
winter.
January of. I thought
Yeah, it said just winter 2017.
I love
January,
Star
okay.
Trek, so I'm excited.
This one does
Yeah.
look like, though, from the style of the ship they have on there, it looks like they are going back to the original universe.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Because there's no real rounded edges. There's a lot of hard lines on it. But and it does, Neil's not liking
Get it
the
out of
ship.
the
I
way,
think,
hurry
but-
up.
But it does also look like it is in the time frame that's going to be after the original 6 movies, but before Next Generation.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's the vision I see. Looking at the ship, it has the saucer section of the Miranda class starship,
Right.
but that's where it loses Gene's Star Trek to me. All the
It's actually based on Ralph McQuarrie's original designs from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
yes, it is. But looking at all the ships that were there, all of them that have appeared on screen, they're all rounded. They're all softer edges. They're
Right.
not combat ships.
Right.
It looks like a Katinga class cruiser, a Klingon battleship.
Yeah.
It looks like, or D7, a lot of people know them as. It's like they took the Miranda class saucer, shoved up a nacelle up its rear, and said, "This is your new ship." It's very hard, very sharp. It looks more of a combat vessel than it does a Discovery science vessel. We
Yeah.
went overboard with the curves on the Enterprise D.
Right.
It just wanted to be in an oval, but it still stayed that softer. It was big, it was powerful, but it was an exploration vessel.
Right.
This ship doesn't have it. That's my first impression when I saw it coming out of that hangar bay, out of that construction. It looked too sharp.
see, but then you look at ships like the Reliant and some of the ones like that also have those sharp edges.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're still in the middle of a war with the Klingons, and mind you, for what's going on.
If we're dealing after Star Trek 6,
Well,
the war's over.
That's right, war's over. But
Yeah.
but the Reliant, we were still at war.
Yeah. Well, no, we weren't actually at war at any of that point.
Oh yeah, but
We
still.
we had there was a loose piece, but there was a piece there. That's why we had the neutral zone and things like that.
That's true.
And the war, the big one that was still coming, was between the Federation and the Romulans.
Right.
That's the war that they're concerned with coming into this.
Right.
So we're going to see more. We may even see Kittimer. Is Kittimer Massacre?
That's closer to. That's only about 20 years before Next Gen.
There's only 70 odd years
Yeah.
between.
Kiddermer was
that's
at,
what
the
it is.
Kiddermer Massacre was in 6,
Worf
wasn't it?
was, Worf was at Kiddermer.
Oh, yeah, Kiddermer
He was,
was before.
okay, he was a child.
He was
Yeah.
a kid there.
So-
So if he's in his late 20s, early 30s,
That's right,
Next
Kiddermer
Gen,
was right before Next Gen. That's right.
That's right. Okay.
Because that's where Moog and all those guys died.
That's right.
Was that
That's
the Kiddermer
where they
Massacre?
cemented the thing between the Federation and the Klingons, repairing
Yeah.
that.
Right. So, I don't know.
You may actually even see a woman captain on this in Rachel appearing.
It's true.
Possibly.
So.
But you're still willing to give it a chance, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have a choice because the wife is going to control the TV on this one, and we're watching it. I'm sorry.
So you're getting CBS All Access so you can watch this.
All we do is stream anyways. We don't have cable in the house
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
So for us, it's one more streaming system. Why not? And then in this case, we wouldn't have gotten the CBS streaming, but this coming out is forcing our hands. So we get all the extra stuff too that we're like, oh, well, we like this too. Okay, it's fine. So
Yeah.
Get it for a month, binge watch the series. Then
Yeah,
aside from
there
there,
you
keep it.
More than likely, they'll release it once a week.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm thinking.
the way Hulu does.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what their plan is. One of the key features about this coming out when it is Star Trek was actually used to kick off their new channels. UPN was
Yeah.
kicked off by, was it Voyager?
No, UPN is either next.
Voyager.
Was it Voyager?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Voyager, yeah.
DS9 kicked off WB. TNG kicked off whatever.
No, there was no network then. They were straight syndication. So was DS9. DS9 was on the same syndication because
Okay.
DS9 was the second series.
Enterprise was
Enterprise is the one that did UP.
Okay,
did
thank
the CW actually, wasn't it? At that point.
CW.
Yeah.
It was
CW,
when they started the CW. That's where Enterprise went.
So Star Trek is used to start their networks. It's a strong thing. They know the fans like us will show up and support it, and it's created
Well,
things.
what I'm wondering is right now you can get. I believe Netflix still has them. I know Amazon Prime has all the original series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they've said CBS All Access is getting all of those also. I'm wondering how long until the contracts with Netflix and all them are up, and all of a sudden you can only get it on CBS All Access.
That might be why they're have set it so far off their 50-year anniversary. Is they're waiting for those contracts to expire.
Yeah,
It
when they
makes
originally
sense.
signed the contracts with these companies, they didn't realize they were going to be making a show and doing this.
Right.
So
We'll see.
we've seen that with other ones also. Like look at what the CW did this summer with all of their shows. They're pulling from Hulu as soon as the summer's over and the new series to start. Hulu's dropping it. They're gone from Hulu and it's all going to Netflix 8 days after the series ends.
Wow.
So the only place you can stream it is actually on the CW's app or on Netflix later. You can binge the whole thing.
Yeah.
Luckily, the CW's app's free.
Right.
So
So far.
yeah.
Right.
So
You get what you pay for, though. I'm willing to pay for
Yeah.
good Star Trek anymore. I don't care.
Hopefully it's
Give
good.
me back
And actually,
good
they have,
Star Trek.
some of the producers and stuff I've heard that are on it, this should be good Star Trek. It's the guys
Exactly.
that were making the series before.
Exactly.
So, but that was Star Trek. We've covered just about everything. Is it time to fall down a rabbit hole?
It's time to go down the rabbit hole, dude.
It's time to go down the rabbit hole. Now, I have a couple of things here that Hanna-Barbera, like I said, if no one's ever heard of it, this is a company that started in 1957 with a show called The Rough and Ready Show, which I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of The Rough and Ready Show?
I'm not that old.
Anybody? Well, the next one everybody's heard of. The second show they put out was the next year, 1958. They put out the Huckleberry Hound Show.
Oh yeah.
The Huckleberry Hound Show actually introduced Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, obviously.
Right.
Most of the characters that we know as the Yogi Bear characters were actually introduced through that show originally, because Yogi Bear was a spin-off show.
Yeah, he was a spin-off.
But what I didn't realize when I was doing a little bit of research for this was Joseph Hanna and William Barbera actually were working for MGM. And the first movie they did was back in 1940. It was a TV short, or it was a movie short, because back then the TV didn't have cartoons.
Right.
It was all the cartoons before the movies.
Right.
Well, the first one they did was, where to go here? The name of it was Crud. I had it.
Correct.
No,
that was a different movie.
It was called Puss Gets the Boot. It was the first ever Tom and Jerry cartoon. Hanna-Barbera actually created Tom and Jerry.
You can still find it now, but in a totally different genre.
Hey, it's a...
Do not Google search that. The first
Oh my.
come up.
As long as you put
It's
up
not safe for
1940 behind it, I think you're okay.
And this one, Ken's fault.
But no, this was the first ever Tom and Jerry cartoon. They created Tom and Jerry. William Hanna actually was the voice of Tom Cat for all the Tom and Jerry cartoons.
I love Tom.
Everybody says it was Fred Quimby because his name's all over it. He was the producer,
Right.
but he had nothing to do with the creative part of this.
Right.
He just produced it. He was the guy, the executive at MGM that was making these. And what happened was at the end of 1956, I believe, MGM shut down or 1955. MGM started talking about, and they ended up shutting down their animation division. They figured they had enough Tom and Jerry cartoons and everything else that they had made that they could just keep syndicating them forever. And obviously, the same Tom and Jerry cartoons and everything was made in the 40s and 50s is still being played today when you watch Tom and Jerry or anything else. Those are a lot of people don't realize the Tom and Jerry, a lot of the Looney Tunes and the Disney short cartoons, they're the same ones that were watching in front of movies back in the 40s and 50s.
Yep.
Right.
And they just held up that well.
The Three Musketeers. Oh
The
man.
Musketeers.
The Musketeers.
Yes.
broth. The Musketeer is
Well,
Oh man.
Well, that one little guy, he was the only one that could talk.
That's
The
right.
other
Yeah.
mice didn't talk.
no, there was a couple that Jerry actually talked in. Not much. And actually, there was one specifically that the first time Hanna-Barbera actually did animated in a full-length movie was actually with, now you see, I have that written down here too. It was Anchors Away, I believe, with, I think it was Gene Kelly.
Yes,
the one with
because
Jerry
he
Mouse
was
dancing
in it,
around.
yes.
That
Yes,
was
with
Jerry
him.
from Tom and Jerry. It wasn't someone that just made one that looked like him.
Yeah.
That was the actual Jerry Mouse.
Wait.
I just love Gene Kelly.
Didn't wasn't the one where didn't Jerry sing? Like
Tom
is
No,
that
that's Tom.
That was
That was
Tom.
Tom.
That was Tom.
That was Tom.
Yeah.
Tom
He
was like
did
the
have
jazzy blues guy.
Jerry had a singing uncle that did the country music.
That's
The
right.
Yes.
gallon hat and the big mustache.
Well, that was actually none of that was actually Hanna-Barbera. I mean, Hanna-Barbera made it, but they didn't have the rights to any of it.
Right.
Similar to, it seems like a similar story to the way they had with Walt Disney when he first started, before he started Disney Studios. He was making cartoons, but he had no rights to any of them because he was making them for someone else.
Right.
And he got all ticked off with Universal because he couldn't make these characters anymore, so he created Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
And thus a mouse was born that has ruled the world since then.
I think in September, Netflix is showing all the Disney.
Shorts.
No, the Disney movies.
Oh,
Like,
really?
They're all going to be
Yes,
released in
yes.
September.
They're getting every one of them.
Except for Song of the South.
No, you can't get
Although
that
you can
place
still ride the ride at Disney.
You know, my mom took me to see that movie, and I just felt like there was something wrong with this.
Just a little bit.
I was just like looking back on
No,
like
what was wrong?
Well, I'm like, I'm
Well,
offended, and I don't know why.
This was
I was like 8.
The movie was made in like 1948 or 1949, and it was depicted Southern life.
It was of its time.
So it fit for its time. It's nowhere near now, but
Just can't find it.
it's all kinds of wrong now.
Although it's still a Disney ride, so.
Yeah. So, but Hanna-Barbera now, we said the first show they ever did was the Huckleberry Hound show.
Right.
And the main ones they said that, according to this, that come out of that one is they have Yogi Bear, Pixie and Dixie and Mr. Jinx, and Hokey Wolf were all on that show with it.
Okay.
The next show they actually put out the next year was the Quick Draw McGraw show.
Quick draw.
And that's where you got Augie Doggy and Augie Daddy,
Yep.
and Snooper and Blabber, which I don't know that one.
I vaguely remember Snooper and Blabber for some
I
reason.
don't remember them.
Vaguely. You would.
Well, the next show they got was arguably
Snooper and Blabber were the detective and his little.
Yes, that was it.
They
Yes.
were the cat and mouse.
Yeah.
It's a cat and mouse.
That wore trench coats and hats.
Yes.
And
Yes.
a magnifying glass.
Yes.
Well, the next one is arguably the biggest hit they ever made. The next cartoon was 1960, and actually ran from 1960 to 1966, was the Flintstones. Arguably the biggest hit they had. I mean, they had a lot of very, very good cartoons.
Yeah, that's true.
But you will see down as we go through the list. Because in 1961, they get their first spin-off cartoon. They actually had the Yogi Bear Show, which introduced Snagglepuss and Yankee Doodle. Now,
Excellent, left, right.
some of the other stuff that happened in this time was while they're doing this, they're also doing TV commercials. All the Pebbles commercials were from back then. The Fruity Pebbles commercials were from back then when the Flintstones were originally on.
Pebbles.
Yeah, but they also the I Love Lucy show. The opening, where it was kind of animated, that was Hanna-Barbera.
They did Bewitched.
They also did Bewitched, and that's why Bewitched actually guest starred on the 6th season of Flintstones.
Right.
And it was the same actors who were in Bewitched. That's because Hanna-Barbera had done the original open for them, and they were working together with them.
That was always crazy when they had, like, quote unquote real people on the Flintstones.
Oh yeah.
Like when they had their version of Margaret. What's her face?
Oh, Anne Margaret.
Anne Margaret.
Yeah.
When they had their version of her. And Margrock, I think.
And Margrock, yes.
And I think Dean Martin was on there.
Yeah.
Like, it was just weird. Because they looked kind of like real people, but then they were on the Flintstones.
Yeah, no.
Well, actually, the Flintstones, when it went off the air, actually held the record for the longest running animated TV series until The Simpsons beat them in 1996.
Yeah.
That was the first one to beat them.
Time.
I know.
Yeah. And
also,
really, it was a lot like The Simpsons of its time because it wasn't completely meant for kids. They showed it at night.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
And it was only
show.
when it got into syndication that they'd show it during the day and it was a kid show.
Right.
well, some of the names here you'll recognize because when they first created their company, Hanna-Barbera Productions, they actually brought on board a lot of the production staff and people that were working with them at MGM and stuff. Some of the names that I caught out of the list was, as I go down through here, Mel Blanc.
He didn't hack. He didn't go anywhere.
No, he didn't do anything after that or before that.
It's like your Greg guy.
Casey Kasem.
Kasem, who's he?
Frank Welker.
Casey Kasem voiced Kazoo.
Casey Kasem voiced Robin. Also.
Yes.
Shaggy.
And Shaggy.
Shaggy.
Many of your cartoons from back in the day were Casey Kasem, but Frank Welker,
Frank Welker,
who was later portrayed by Channing Tatum. You know what? You know what?
Oh man.
I had to slip that one in there. It was perfect.
That's what he said.
End of the world, whatever.
No, that was Frank Welker was Duke. That's what Channing Tatum did.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. This is the end. That's her favorite role for Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Was in the movie This is the End.
That's pretty
That
much
was
him.
good.
So that was good. I like what you did there. Yeah.
So it was just basically a who's who of voice talent was working with Hanna-Barbera back then.
Yeah.
But when they were making the Flintstones, that's when they got ready. They did the Yogi Bear show, which was their first spin-off show. But because of how well they did with Flintstones and Yogi Bear, they were able to actually start. The next one was Top Cat.
Yeah.
Then they had the Hanna-Barbera New Cartoon Show, which actually brought in the Wally Gator, Touche Turtle, Lippy the Lion, and Hardy Hart were all shorts that were in that show.
Right.
Then you also get, in 1962, and then also they started making them again in 1985, was the Jetsons.
Yeah.
And that's another one that had almost as big an impact as the Flintstones.
And that was another one that would incorporate like modern day celebrities and And I still don't have my car that can fit into a briefcase. I'm like, seriously.
I just want those little things that you
They actually
can
do.
get the glass tube over you.
Yeah, I want the robot that's gonna clean my house.
What was that, Vicky?
There's a robot that's
Although they don't have a car that'll turn into a briefcase, but have you seen the one that's an airplane?
No.
It actually folds up into an airplane.
Yeah, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
What one were you talking about?
Suitcase.
What was that?
Suitcase car.
Where was that from? How big of a briefcase does it become?
You can ride your suitcase now.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
What?
Sort of.
They have kayaks that collapse into a backpack.
Yeah. Well, no, this is actually a suitcase, like a roller suitcase that when you lay it on its side, you can kick out little foot pegs, and then the handle sticks straight up, and it's like
a Segway.
Yeah.
It's like a little scooter.
It's crazy.
Kind of like when the T-Bob turns into like the
In
mask. Yeah.
Yep.
See, thank you. That's why I like it. You get me. You get me.
Hey,
Thank
I just introduced them to it the other night
Oh.
because the comic book coming out.
Oh, I can't wait.
This is similar to what it is.
Yeah.
This isn't the one I saw.
listening
but-
at home.
That's crazy. Here.
Can we get back to Hanna-Barbera?
Yeah. We'll get there in just a second.
What? Suitcase car.
But it's we could have used that actually in Atlanta last year when we were
Yes.
was it Minneapolis was the one we had to try to run from one end to the other?
No, if you're going to Atlanta, you need the one that's got the nitrous attached to it.
Yes.
You know, V8.
Yeah.
All the airports we were running like crazy. But yeah, we couldn't eat or anything because we had like a 45-minute layover. So the next one up on the list after all those was the next was the McGill Gorilla Show. They had a lot of these variety cartoon shows where they made a bunch of shorts for him.
Right.
And the McGill Gorilla Show introduced Pumpkin Puss and Mush Mouse.
They liked puss.
Yeah. And then
Comes up a lot.
Ricochet Rabbit and Droop Along. And Vicky had a good point here. What were they taking when they came up with these names? It was the mid-'60s, so you never know what they were experimenting with when they came up with some of these ideas.
We're a PG-13 podcast, so.
Well,
Yeah.
The next one has a special place, I think, in just about everybody's hearts. Was 1964. They put out Johnny Quest,
Oh.
Yes.
the original Johnny Quest.
Yes.
That
Which
only lasted one season.
yeah, back then it did. One
It was
season.
only one season?
It was syndicated
64 to
forever.
65. Is it?
That's it. Just like cartoons that, like I said, the old film cartoons were syndicated forever, and you can still see them on regular TV.
But one season would be like 60 episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Look
It's
at
a lot of
that is
episodes.
We keep going back to G.I. Joe. The first season of Transformers is like 47 episodes.
Yeah. It's,
Season 2 is like 60 something.
That's true.
So, because you gotta think, so a lot of these were made to play daily.
That's right.
The Flintstones, they said, actually was like a 7 or 7:30 at night pre-prime time show, Monday through Friday.
Yep. Every day.
So
Every day.
the next one was a very interesting character. The next one they put out was the Peter Potamus Show. You don't remember him?
No.
He was a hippo that had all the mannerisms of a Liberace.
You don't remember him?
You don't remember Peter Potamus? He was the
trying to
most.
remember who
He was
Liberace
the most. This may not come out right. I'm warning you now, but he was the most gay, overly gay style character you'd ever see in cartoons from the '60s.
More
without
gay than-
saying he was.
Was he more gay
Yeah.
than Snagglepuss? Because Snagglepuss.
No. Snagglepuss was an actor.
He was a
Right.
vaudevillian actor.
See, now you remember.
Yeah!
The safari outfit.
Yes!
Yes.
Okay, I remember him now.
Well, Peter Potamus.
You're right.
The Peter Potamus Show, you see, they did everything they could without saying he was gay.
Mm-hmm. He was just a
So-
very effeminate hippopotamus.
Yes.
Come on, you know.
So
Okay,
the-
hopefully Ken's not going through every single one of
Well,
this
we're not going
We
to
should
talk
keep
about
going.
every one of them. we're going to mention them all, but we're not going to talk about all of them because the next one. Well, that.
We're only in the 60s, Ken.
I know. Well, the Adam Ant Show was next. That was another one that made a big splash.
Adam Ant.
Yeah.
Not Adam Ant.
And so in America or bust.
Yeah. YouTube has a lot of these on them too, if anybody's interested. But I'm trying to think. Secret Squirrel was introduced in Adam Ant. That was the only other one that I've heard of that was introduced in Adam Ant. The next one was Sinbad Jr. and his magic belt.
I vaguely remember Sinbad
But
Jr.
the next one is kind of cool. The next couple are interesting because they all ended up going together later. Was Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles came out.
Yeah.
Then they had Space Ghost and Dino Boy.
Yeah.
And the Space Cadets.
Yeah, Space
I don't
Cadet.
remember those guys.
They had
Oh.
they like had the rocket skates and they were.
See, I don't remember them.
Yeah, that's.
But
You remember it, they just weren't that good.
after that, they did. Now Hanna-Barbera had a lot of ended up with a lot of shows that were based on live action stuff. Because the next one is the Abbott and Costello cartoon show.
Alright, every now and then they would run those like during the holidays, and I was like, Abbott and Costello's a cartoon, and it didn't blow my mind, and then the tryptophan took over.
The next set is another set of the back into the action cartoons again because most people I think know they had some great comedy stuff in there, but their action stuff was just as strong.
Yes.
The next set you get Harvey Birdman and the Galaxy Trio.
Yeah.
Or not Harvey Birdman. Back then it wasn't Harvey. It was just Birdman.
Birdman,
Yeah.
yeah.
Harvey Birdman was
was a big
created later.
improvement.
But then you get the Herculoids and Shazam. Shazam was a genie, wasn't it?
It was a genie.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one after your own heart. The next one they put out was the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, actually, that was a good series. That version of Fantastic Four, I was a fan of.
Well, then you get Moby Dick and the Mighty Mightor. Mightor I don't remember, and Moby Dick I don't remember as a cartoon. But you get Samson and Goliath. I remember that one.
Yes.
Then you get the first that I know of live action animated show they did was the Banana Splits Adventure Era.
Yeah.
For the 70s, it was great.
I don't know.
Banana splits were creepy.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of animated hippies.
But then you get some that went really good, some didn't. You get the Adventures of Gulliver, the new Adventures of Huckleberry Hound, and then Wacky Races. Wacky Races was a pretty good one, I thought. The new version's a whole lot better.
I was not a fan of Wacky Races. It was too wacky for me.
Well, that one spun off the Perils of Penelope Pit Stop and Dastardly and Mudley and Their Flying Machines. Were both spin-offs from Wacky Races.
Right.
We have the Cat and Nougat Cats, which I've never. But the next one that probably was as big a hit as the Flintstones was Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? That's for the 60s, so that's a pretty good stretch for the 60s.
It was.
So, because the 60s had a lot of really bad stuff coming out too. So,
Just in general. Yeah.
but in the 70s, you can see there's this little bit of a change because a lot of shows that actually end up being molds of the other shows with just a different overlay.
Right.
You get the first show though that came out in the 70s was the Harlem Globetrotters cartoon.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
But that's how you end up with the Harlem Globetrotters in the
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo because they already had people drawing.
Yep.
Right.
But you get Josie and the Pussycats after that.
Which wound up on Scooby-Doo.
Exactly.
That's right. Josie and Pussycat, y'all. Man, the music was so amazing. The music was
But I actually
great.
didn't think that movie was terrible.
Yeah, I
No, it
love the
wasn't. It
music.
was
I would
fine.
wake up every morning.
Yeah, it was
Just
just the
listen-
music.
It was
It
just
was
the music.
just the music.
The music, man. Tell
Nothing to
you.
do with the cat suits.
I don't know what.
Music.
For Pete's sake, I was a kid. Why would I pay attention to that cat suit? It was all
They were
about the
cartoons.
music.
I mean, come on.
Huh?
They were cartoons. I mean, come on, Dawn.
Yeah.
I
Not that
don't
I
know
remember
what you're
cartoons.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The next one I've never heard of. The next one was Where's Huddles?
Who?
Exactly.
Exactly. On a
the
milk
next
carton box.
The next one was the first spin-off from the Flintstones. It was the Pebbles and Bam Bam show.
Yeah.
They're like when they were teenagers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they had a band too.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Band, yeah.
Everybody,
did.
all the
Everyone had a
70s
band
cartoons had a band.
That's right.
Even Jar Jar, or Jabberjaw.
Why are you going to have a shark playing drums? Somebody,
Well, we'll
Why
get to
not?
him.
No respect. No respect.
I'm like,
Well, next one is one I actually enjoyed a lot because it was a mainstay on the old USA Cartoon Express. Was the Hair Bear? Help! It's the Hair Bear Bunch.
I've never heard of that.
Oh
no. But and animated hippies again. No.
Yes.
See, I'm glad I never heard of it.
Do a quick search for it. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen
Hope
them.
Well,
The Hair
next one I've
Bear
heard of but I've
Bunch.
never seen was the Funky Phantom.
The Funky Phantom was just. There wasn't anything funky about him.
Well, they got the Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan,
And that bothered me too.
which was based on the character of
Charlie Chan.
Charlie Chan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait till your father gets home. And some of these may not have been cartoons, but
I don't think
they
that
had the
was a
Flintstones Comedy Hour,
Yeah.
which they've done the Flintstones every which way they can figure out how
That
to
pretty
do.
much, yeah.
Which is good because every time they put Flintstones on it, people watch.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So you get Roman Holidays, which was kind of interesting. It was another family show, kind of like the Flintstones or
Yeah.
stuff, but it was in like Roman times.
Roman times, yeah.
C-Lab 2020 I never saw.
Oh, I love C-Lab
Oh,
2020.
yes.
That was a good one.
Okay, well then you get the new Scooby-Doo movies, which I believe was later on they have the one with the mysteries, where it had the guest stars.
We're talking about
Yeah.
the groovy movies? That was something
I think
different?
that's something different.
No.
No.
It was
But,
just called the new Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, this is the new Scooby-Doo movies. So.
I didn't watch them.
After that, we got.
And then-
Well, no, we probably did because more than likely it would have been played with regular Scooby-Doo.
I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't watch Scooby-Doo.
But you
Okay.
didn't?
Well,
No,
next one
so
we
goofy.
have. This is another one for you. Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space.
I remember
And the
that.
music. Sci-fi and music.
Well, here
That's
comes the
awesome.
next one's another Hanna-Barbera formula. It was a bunch of kids with something crazy. It was Speed Buggy.
Hey, you know I love Speed Buggy. It was a talking car that got me there.
Then Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids,
Which was a band. That was another group with a band.
Then we get Yogi's Gang, which they say is a crossover series with characters from all of the old Secret Squirrel. Everybody was in that one. Scooby's Gang, and then we get the Super Friends. That was Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Super Friends.
You waited for that when you were building up to that one.
Well, hey, Super Friends actually molded a lot of kids, a lot of comic book readers now are comic book readers now because of the Super Friends.
I watched Super Friends.
I watched Super Friends.
Now, whether they stand with DC doesn't matter. The fact that Super Friends turned them on to the superhero world.
Marvin got on my nerves, though.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand Marvin.
Wendy, Marvin, and Superdog?
Wendy was okay. Superdog was alright. Marvin got on my nerves.
Well, next one I've never heard of is Goober and the Ghost Chasers.
I don't remember that at all.
The next one I do know, though, Inch High Private Eye.
Yeah.
He was actually a private detective that was an inch high. He would driving his car, he would actually stand on top of the steering wheel, running back and forth to turn the wheel.
Yeah.
He was very much in the flavor of Get Smart.
Yeah.
He had that feel about him.
See, I never liked Get Smart.
Well, the next one was Genie, which was actually an adaptation of I Dream of Jeannie. Then they did the Addams Family cartoon.
Right.
And then the next one is, I love, if nothing else, the song Hong Kong Phooey's next.
Everyone knows the song, if nothing else.
Yeah. That was a great song. And the cartoon wasn't bad. For 1974, that was not a bad cartoon. It was only a one-season show, but once again, you could see it all throughout the 70s and 80s somewhere.
Rest in peace, Scatman.
Devlin was the next one. You mentioned that earlier.
Oh, I love
I don't
Devlin.
remember that one.
It was inspired by Evel Knievel. It was about this guy who was he traveled with the circus. It was him and his brother, who was his mechanic, and their little sister. And I guess their parents had passed on. And so it was about how they would travel with the circus and get in adventures and stuff, and then you do these crazy jumps. Love the show. I like that.
It was just the Evel Knievel part that you loved.
Oh, that was the whole thing. And nobody talked to me.
All you needed.
Nobody talked to me because Devin was on.
Well, we're going to run through a bunch of... Now, some of these other ones I've heard of, too, but we're going to run through a bunch of them and get to some of the other big ones that are coming.
Past a bunch of them.
Like, they had a Partridge Family. They had Valley of the Dinosaurs. Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch was another one where it was just a group of... They were all motorcycles.
Right.
Then weird. Kong, 70,000 BC.
Korg.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Korg. Then we have another Tom and Jerry, Grape Ape, and Mumbly Show, which was just another retelling of all those.
Spin-offs.
Yeah, they did.
The Scooby-Doo Dynamite Hour, which was also a spin-off. The Clue Club Jabberjaw we talked about, which was Scooby-Doo with a shark instead of a...
Yeah, Scooby-Doo as a shark. Yeah.
And it was under the sea.
Yeah, exactly.
Fred
They were the bubbleheads, weren't they?
Then we get, in 77, we get to Fred Flintstone, or the Fred Flintstone and Friends. We get the Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics, All-Star Laugh Olympics. That was always
We're back
interesting.
into all the variety shows.
Yeah.
The CB, this is the late 70s, it's 77, so it's all variety shows. The CB Bears, the Skatebirds. Then we get the first changeover of the Super Friends. We get the all-new Super Friends, which had Zan and Jaina and
the Wonder Twins.
Yeah, the Wonder Twins.
All the things you can do with water.
Technically,
ice, bucket of water. That's about it.
he became ice. He was an ice giant one time. That was cool. I'm like, do more of that once. Ice giant once.
Well, then they actually did a Popeye show back then.
They
They got a Popeye show from King Syndication. The all-new Popeye Hour. Yogi Bear had a space show. Challenge of the Super Friends came out then, and then the Godzilla Power Hour.
Oh, Godzuki.
See, I enjoyed the old Godzilla cartoon. I know Vicky did too.
I did.
So,
I did, but I didn't like Godzuki.
I've never seen it.
I thought you saw it. I've shown you bits and pieces of
I've
it.
never seen that one.
I thought you saw that one.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to play
I'm not
it.
into the monsters, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch
That's when you have to
Godzilla
see.
anyway.
See, I love
Well,
monsters.
We got the more Flintstone shows, Fred
More
Barney
and
shows.
more
Fred
and
Barney.
more.
Is that good?
There's a lot
We'll
more
watch.
Flintstone shows than you ever realize
Yeah.
until you look at this list.
Well, we also get the new Shboo, which I've never heard of, Casper and the Angels. We get the Super Globetrotters.
Wow.
Hey, they weren't in space.
Yes.
They were just super.
Exactly.
Oh, that was just
Others were just
wrong.
bad.
Yeah, pretty much
superpowers
almost all
in
of
that
them
one.
went to space at some
One of them
Yep.
could turn to spaghetti.
Well, we
The
get,
other one could grow his fro real big.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, we get Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo in 79. The World's Greatest Super Friends, which was another Super Friends spin-off. Super Friends kept going all the way through the mid-80s.
Yep.
They had new shows every year, every 2 years.
It's like the Teen
You had Fred and Barney meet Shmoo. And then Shmoo was that really fat
It was that white
genie
blobby thing,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Then you get Amigo and Friends, which I've never heard of.
It was down in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, it says animated adaptation of Mexican movie star
That was
Ken
Shmoo.
Tinflas? Who? I don't know. Some Mexican star. Then in the 80s, we start to get into where they actually... There's not as much on this, but you have a lot more where... Remember, in the late 70s, early 80s, they started changing the... they changed the rules so you could actually sell toys through cartoons.
Right.
And the cartoons became ads for the toy lines.
Yep.
But that's when Super Friends really started changing. But you start off the 80s with the BB Beagle Show, the Super Friends again, the Drac Pack, the Flintstones Comedy Hour, the Fonz and the Happy Day Gang.
Oh, I remember watching that one.
yeah.
That made me mad. That show made me mad. Because I was like, oh, I like Happy Days. This is a cartoon. No. Really? Well,
See, now we're ruining your job.
you know what?
He's remembering all these things.
I feel like I've been attacked. I really did not. We don't need to be bringing that show up right now. I haven't talked about.
Well, if you let us move on,
The next
we will.
next one was actually the Richie Rich Scooby-Doo show, and this was the first time Richie Rich was in a cartoon.
See, I don't remember there
Adaptation
being
of-
that crossover. I just remember the Richie Rich
Well, a
stuff.
lot of times what this was
crossover.
it would be the Richie Rich Scooby-Doo show would have been an hour long. You'd have
And
half hour
half and half,
Scooby-Doo and
yeah,
half
that's
hour
true.
Richie Rich.
Where they do 15-15.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then Laverne and Shirley in the Army, they had their own
Hey,
cartoon.
they weren't in space.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
The next one the next one is, this is where I knew Space Ghost from, was from the Space Stars TV show. Space Stars was actually a combination of Team Force, Astro and the Space Mutts, Space Ghost, and the Herculoids, all in one show.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was all, they would play the shorts from each of them.
Right.
And if I remember right, the Team
Repackaging.
Force, yeah.
That's right.
Team Force was the one where it was the three kids on motorcycles or something, space cycles, wasn't it? They were wearing these flying these weird space motorcycle ship things.
Okay.
So, next you had the Quickie Koala Show, Trollkins, which I think is in there.
Wait, what was
Trollkins?
Troll. What was
Is
it?
that
What was
the
the
little
one
trolley
for?
thing? The Quickie Koala Show.
Quickie Koala?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
And
Next one was another big one for them was the Smurfs.
The Smurfs were important.
So this one was another collaboration with another company. It was SCEP International. Because everybody knows Smurfs actually came from what?
Belgium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was the
That's the Smurfs was proof that women ran everything. Damn it!
That's true.
One woman in that whole village.
That's true.
And not at the end, they had the little girl too.
That didn't count. By the time you get to the end and throw other people in there, but she was
Well,
created to be evil.
The next one, you get another Flintstone show, the Flintstones Funnies. And then you get Pac-Man, Little Rascals, and Richie Rich show. Which
Why not
had
put them
three
all
of those
together?
I remember the Little Rascals, and it was not as funny as live action.
Although the Pac-Man show, the original one, wasn't terrible for the time.
No.
No, I remember watching that. I have yet to find a copy to introduce the family.
Yeah.
I've been bringing these old gems out to show, and it's just sometimes
You
you
cringe.
see the time.
Yeah, he's just like,
The time.
no, I don't.
Well, the next one, we get the Morgan Minnie and Laverne and Shirley Fonz Hour.
Because they throw them all together.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember that one too, and I feel abused again.
Then we get more Scooby-Doo. We get Scooby and Scrappy-Doo Puppy Hour. We get some show called Joke Book. And then we get the Shirt Tales. Do you remember the Shirt Tales?
Sure tails.
Dude, I don't want to talk about Shirt Tales.
Oh, Shirt Tales!
Number
The
one.
Bogey Monkey was awesome.
But Bogey Monkey, no, because you know why? Because you know what? It bothered me that all of a sudden, just out of random, all of a sudden they say something and pop up on your shirt.
Okay.
You know, too
yeah,
random.
Yeah, but you know what though? You know how you talked about toys being sold through cartoon?
Yeah.
This was created by Hallmark to sell greeting cards.
Yeah, and it worked.
I got a green card.
That's why it was.
Well, the next one are
It was
two
a
more
Hallmark
TV
cartoon.
adaptations. They had the Gary Coleman Show
No.
and the Dukes.
You know what? And the Dukes. I think the Dukes came out about the same time when Bo and Luke asked for more money, and then they got kicked off, and then you end up with Coy and Vance. And they're like, then you go in for that season. You're like, oh, more. Wait, hold on, that's not Bo and Luke. And so, but then you had the cartoon. The cartoon was stupid because apparently they're racing all over the world, and then was it Boss Hog and Cletus. Boss Hog and Cletus was following them all over the world. No. No, you don't car chase like that. It doesn't work that way. You're doing it wrong.
Well, the next one actually introduced the next one introduced characters you can still see all over the place, and people don't even know where they were. The Monchichis, Little Rascals, and Richie Rich Show. The Monchichis you can still find those little hugs bear things all over the place.
Monchichi theme song.
Sing it.
No, I'm not singing it.
What? Vicky just said her sister still has a Monchichi.
Yeah, it's a Pomeranian.
Oh yeah,
I do. I know a version of the Monchichi song.
That doesn't
No.
You don't get to sing it.
Monchichi means happiness.
It's happy.
They were the stupidest little things ever, but I remember the song.
Well, next up, you had a repackage of Pac-Man, but they put him with Rubik, the Amazing Cube.
Well, at least you had games.
And then you get Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo again. You get the Biscuits, which I've never heard of. I guess it's a spin-off of Scooby-Doo.
They were a dog group.
That's right.
Okay.
They inspired me.
Then we get Lucky Luke, Benji Zax and the Alien Prince, which was a live-action show.
Okay.
I'm gonna skip the live-action ones. Snorks was next, which was basically Smurfs underwater.
Smurfs underwater.
I loved that though.
That was weird.
They were girls though.
Yeah.
And then actually, we don't get G.I. Joe and Transformers in this, unfortunately, but we get Challenge of the GoBots. I enjoyed Challenge of the GoBots.
You're like the only person on the planet that and I love
I've
you
heard a
for
lot
it.
of people like that.
No,
there's a lot of people like
I
GoBots.
loved GoBots.
The thing was,
It was because of them I broke my jaw.
but
No joke. I was 9 years old. Mom called me to dinner. GoBots were coming on. I wanted to watch the show. So I'm walking backwards and I start bouncing and I'm in socks on a hardwood floor. I go forward and everything goes black. I'd broken the jaw in 3 places. I was wired shut at 9 years old. My mouth was wired shut for 3 months.
and Sherry's sitting over here like, why'd they ever unwire it?
Oh my gosh!
I can say it for you.
I lost a tooth and I could fit a straw through there. So anything I could get through the straw, I could consume.
I'm so sorry, dude.
I still love the GoBots.
See,
that
for me,
much.
what was great was I loved GoBots and Transformers because they were all on the same channel. So in the morning you got GoBots, and like in the afternoon you get Transformers.
Okay.
So now if you had to choose between the two, it would have been Transformers. But also you got to remember in the 80s,
Yeah.
GoBots were affordable.
That's true.
Transformers,
That's true.
even in the 80s, Optimus Prime was like $40.
Everything made by Tonka was affordable.
That's
GoBots
true.
was Tonka. It was
Yeah.
affordable.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
So they were the poor man's GoBots, but I was a poor man.
And the funny thing
I was a
is
poor
that
kid.
now GoBots is actually part of Transformers canon now. Because, they bought the license for them, so now GoBots is
Yeah, but GoBots is totally different. It's like a little kid's Transformers now.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but after that you get Pink Panther and Sons, which was brought in from MGM. Super Friends, the Legendary Superpower Show, which was just another
More
the
Super
Pawpaws, Yogi's Treasure Hunt, Galtar and the Golden Lance, the Superpowers team, Galactic Guardians. That's the one that actually introduced Cyborg and
If we
Firestorm.
skipped all the spin-offs, we'd really have a short list.
We're getting there. Yeah. Well, see, that's what made Hanna-Barbera great. They figured out, and they were able to keep spinning stuff off, and people would still watch it.
Right.
So, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, the Berenstain Bears show was Hanna-Barbera. The New Adventures of Johnny Quest was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Spin-off, skip it.
The Pound Puppies, the Flintstones Kids, Foofer, which was a werewolf show if I remember right.
No.
No?
It was the big blue dog.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
The bad guy in that one was the dog catcher.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Well,
The
they did,
country dog.
next one they did Wildfire, the Sky Commanders, which was directly built on the Toy line.
Yeah.
Popeye and Son, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. That's it. The Completely Mental Adventures of Ed Grimley.
I remember
That's
that.
great. Martin Short's Ed Grimley.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and it was interesting because Ed Grimley was Was he on Saturday Night Live at that point, or was
Yeah.
that SCTV?
He started on SCTV.
And I'm like,
He was Martin Short's character.
I mean, think about it. Like, that's a character that was on SCTV, like that was usually shown late at night on Saturday night.
That was an adult character.
And then to have his own Saturday morning show, you know, and which actually, whenever I watch Wheel of Fortune now, and Pat Sajak, you know, because he had the fixation with Pat, I'm like, oh, I want Ed Grimley to be on the show now, but
Well, there's only a couple more shows that in the 80s, it was, they did another Yogi Bear, a Fantastic Max, which was another cartoon one, another Tonka, I believe, but then Further Adventures of Super Ted, if you remember Super Ted.
I do not.
And then Paddington Bear.
Oh, yeah.
So now we get into the 90s, which the 90s didn't have as much, as many in it, because a lot of it's based on current and 80s movies. You had Bill and Ted, you have The Adventures of Don Coyote, and Sancho Panza.
No,
Coyote.
And
It's
then-
Coyote and Panda.
Yeah. And then you get the Tom and Jerry Kids, Wake, Rattle, and Roll, Rick Moranis and Glendale High. So Rick Moranis had his own TV show. Midnight Patrol, Adventures in the Dream Zone, The Pirates of Darkwater.
and that's
That's
a
another
classic
action
one
show.
even now.
Yeah.
And anybody who's a fan of Firefly has either watched that show or you should go find that show. Yeah.
Well, then we got another Yogi Bear one, Young Robin Hood, Fish Police, Capital Critters, another Addams Family based on the newer movie.
Yeah.
Droopy Master Detective, let's see, Captain Planet was Hanna-Barbera.
Captain.
SWAT Cats was
Oh, I
Hanna-Barbera.
like SWAT.
Yeah.
And now, at this point, you're at 1993, you're starting to get into Hanna-Barbera got bought over the time by Turner, who
Yeah.
eventually became Time Warner, and around this time, they were creating a brand new channel on cable,
Yes.
which was Cartoon Network.
That's right.
And most of your early Cartoon Network shows were either the old Hanna-Barbera or they were new Hanna-Barbera shows.
Right.
So you get stuff like Two Stupid Dogs.
Yeah.
You get Space Ghost Coast to Coast,
That
which
was
was
an awesome
that-
show.
that was probably the first Adult Swim show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
they even called it Adult Swim.
Anybody that goes to a con and you have a chance to meet, I forget the guy that was the voice of Space Ghost, but if you have a chance to meet him, do it. I
He is
think
the funniest guy, and he sounds exactly the same in person.
Yeah.
We were at a con, and we were hearing this voice, and I turned to Kylan and I'm like, honey, Space Ghost is here. And we gotta go find him. And he put, I think, on the picture we got of him that he autographed, he put a recipe of some type. I don't
yeah, and it's the most
recipe on our
random.
picture.
And we were laughing the whole
He's
time
hilarious.
because he is just so random. It was like,
Well,
yeah.
I said all voice actors, if they're mainly a voice actor, are like that.
Yeah.
They're great, and they tell stories the whole time because they work 900 different shows. So that you never know. That's why, like James Arnold Taylor's one-man show, he does 50 voices or 100 voices in 5 minutes because he's done all these voices.
But can I just say,
Well-
Space Ghost was an awesome show because his grandfather was Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yes!
What? You gotta go back and watch this.
And it had songs by Brack.
Well, after the next one they did was a Dumb and Dumber show. What a cartoon I've never heard of. Cave Kids. But the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest,
Oh!
which Kylan said he wanted to get to. And the next ones
I got
are the
goosebumps.
true Cartoon Network classics here.
Yes.
The next set. You get Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken,
Yes.
I Am Weasel, and Powerpuff Girls.
Yes.
So that's 5 shows that they hit out of the park when they made original shows for Cartoon Network.
Definitely.
And then it's like the show. After that, there was a couple shows they made after that, but nothing really that hit big because they were pretty much done after. And 2001 is when they officially closed the doors. Hanna-Barbera is still around,
Right.
but in name only. Like, and Warner Brothers still owns them. That's why, like, DC Comics now is putting out the Hanna-Barbera Beyond. So the future of Hanna-Barbera looks pretty safe. I mean, with the licensing, with Hanna-Barbera Beyond, and everything else is going on, it was a major part of all these people's childhood, and they're still making it.
That's right.
So, actually, with that, we're running low on time. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Whether or not you were speaking on the show, you're still part of the show, which is awesome. I love doing the Meeplecast because we get to see all of our friends.
Yes,
That's true.
we know you love it, Ken. The more public he can be, the better.
Kylan and I have talked about this. If we could be on stage to do this show every week, I think we would. Everyone else would.
I don't think Kylan would, but I know you would.
Not every week. No, because, well, you know, football season's coming up. I I gotta watch the Steelers abuse people this season. So.
Oh yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It happens every
You gotta
season.
bank your league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Geeksters, remember you can always find us at geekwatch1.com on all of social media. We're also Geek Watch One. We're on the networks of the Tangibout Network at tangiboutnetwork.com and bbgeekspc.com. And I believe that's everything we got for today, isn't it?
That is.
So, Miss Dawn, did you have anything else for today?
I have nothing else except to say go to TeePublic if you want one of our t-shirts, and they now have mugs and notebooks.
Ooh, we still gotta get that T-shirt we were talking about a couple weeks ago and have her put on the back the whole. It's mandatory to grow older, not mandatory to grow up, something like that.
Yeah, I think my mom wrote that down actually. I'm serious. I'm serious. My mom wrote it down somewhere, so I have to ask her.
Sure, if you have any t-shirt ideas, send them to me. I'll Photoshop.
That's right. So, Kylan, do you have anything else before we wrap up today?
Just so you know, stay in school, kids.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky, did you have anything else before we wrap up today?
Of course not.
Okay. I think that's it for me, guys. Anybody else? Did we cover everything for you guys? Well, thank you for coming, and just remember.
No matter where you go, there you are.